This
It's
conference
coming.
will now be recorded.
It's coming. Yeah, I'm able to see now.
You're able to see now. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Great. So in describe image, as you know, like we would be given about 25 seconds time, and
Mm-hmm.
we will have to prepare ourselves to talk about the map in that particular time. And we have to speak on it for 40 minutes. Okay, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they may have different types of questions here.
Mm-hmm.
One is it could be a map, or it could be a bar chart, or it could be a pie chart, or
Okay.
it could be a line graph,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes it could be a table.
Okay.
Like that. So they have different types of questions here. Okay, and you may have about 6 or 7 of these in the exam, or 5 or 6 of these. It depends. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
so you may
Mm-hmm.
have each one type of these questions like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Now, the first thing when we have to look at this part, so we have to understand that we should cover all the points that the map or the chart is actually covering.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the first thing that we have to make sure. If you look at this map here, the African map, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and in the 25 minutes, what we need to look at is first try to understand how do you open up the introduction sentence. And
Mm-hmm.
introduction sentence is always about the title of it, like what this overall map or the chart is actually talking about. So we have to summarize the whole thing in just one sentence. That's our introduction. Okay. And after that, we have to go on talking about the points they have actually given in the map or the chart.
Okay.
Like that. All right. Now here for this particular map, if you look at,
Mm-hmm.
so this is about the gorilla distribution, okay, and
Yeah.
that too in part of Africa, in the
Yeah.
continent, like
Mm-hmm.
that, okay. And in
Mm-hmm.
this continent, if you see, there are only a couple of places where the representation has been done.
Mm-hmm.
You see, it is mostly in the middle part of Africa.
Yeah.
In the middle part of Africa that you see the representation. Otherwise, most of it is not represented here.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
if you look at these colors, this yellow one is talking about the western lowland,
Mm-hmm.
and this blue one is a mountain gorilla, and the purple one is eastern lowland gorilla.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, okay? And here you have to concentrate on the extreme figures. I mean the lowest and the highest,
Mm-hmm.
or the biggest or smallest. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
two extreme points have to be mentioned first.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, okay? After that, after mentioning the extreme points, then you can start talking about the other elements of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And okay, let's before we move on to that, let's look at the parameters here. So we will be able to understand it that way much better.
Okay.
Okay. Right, here it is. All right, here it is. First one, as usual, is content. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here it says it's marked from 0 to 5. So
Mm-hmm.
5 means describes all elements of the image and their relationships, possible development, and conclusion or implications.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. All the elements of the image and their relationships. It's really important. See, if you look at the difference in marking here, for the 3 marks, they say most of the key elements. Here they say all the key elements. So if you cover up only most of it, but not all, then we will get 3 marks here,
Mm-hmm.
like that. And if we cover only one, let's say if there are 4 points and we cover only one, so probably we may get only two,
Okay.
like that. Okay, and if we cover up only some of them, so some basic elements of the image, not the key, only the basic elements of the image, then we will get only one.
Like what the image is exactly representing. If I am
Absolutely.
able to say only that part, then one. Then one of the elements, like in that case, in Western Lowland, the gorilla distribution is maximum. So
Hmm.
another point. So this is two in that case. O- Okay.
Yes. Okay. Suppose, yeah, as you said, if I only say that, okay, these colors represent this kind of a gorilla distribution. If I say only that,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I would get only one. I'm not
One.
comparing or contrasting anything there. I'm just saying the basic features of it. This color belongs to this, only that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if I represent only one key feature, it's again two. So if I miss out of three gorilla distributions, if I talk about only two, so then I will get three.
Okay.
Like that. Okay, because I'm covering the most key elements there, most of them,
Elements. Mm-hmm.
not all, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here four is describe all the key elements of the image and their relations referring to their implications and conclusions, like that. So what is missing from five here is
Possible
possible
development.
development. Absolutely.
Some
Possible.
suggestion.
Possible.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
So possible how it is developing. So not here. I mean, in this particular map, the first one what we saw, there we don't have any kind of development as such. Okay, but
Mhm.
when you have the bar chart or a line chart, so there definitely we have developments.
Mhm.
So there we have to talk about that as well. And for 40 seconds, hardly we can do everything in about 3 to 4 sentences, not more than that.
Mhm.
Like that, because time is really short here. It's just 40 seconds. Like that. Okay. So all the sentences that we use here should be a mix of simple, compound, complex also, like that, because the use of complex sentences help you to say too many things in just a couple of sentences and really in a fluent way rather, like that. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And the second parameter, as usual, is pronunciation as well as oral fluency, where five is native like, okay, in both the cases. And four is advanced and three is good, like that. Right? Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Great. So this is about the parameters here. So mainly about the content that we have to worry here. Okay.
Mhm.
And after we can talk about oral fluency and pronunciation. Okay. Let's concentrate on the content part here. Okay. So I hope the image is pretty much clear.
Yes, I'm able to say it clearly.
Okay, great. Swati, can you hear us?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, okay, great. So we are discussing about the described image. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
fine. Yeah, great. So as we saw, like in content, we have to cover all the elements here, elements as well as important keynotes and possible conclusions. This is important. Okay. Right. And if we don't conclude the overall map, so then we may lose the marks there as well, like that. Okay.
Mhm.
So now this is pretty much simple, no confusion. This map shows, depicts, illustrates, points out use any of these words
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, like that. Okay, and come straight to the point because time is very, very less here,
Mm-hmm.
like that. Okay, first sentence is always introduction. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what type of chart or map you have, it's always introduction, right? This chart depicts, represents, like that, the gorilla distribution across the African continent. As we can see, a very smaller part of African continent occupies the gorilla distribution, in which Western lowland gorilla stands highest in the amount of distribution, whereas Eastern lowland gorilla stands the lowest amount of distribution across the African continent. However, mountain gorilla is the distribution which really stands for second most highest in the map. Overall, we can say that the whole African continent, a very lesser part of the continent is covered with gorillas, and mostly a middle part of the African continent is occupied by gorillas. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. So it's a simple task, but it depends on how clearly you segregate the information and how accurate it is. I mean, if we manipulate any kind of information or data which is given there, so then that would affect our score. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. First talk about the highest, and then talk about the lowest, and then talk about the remaining features here. And also point out that very lesser part of African continent. You see that only the middle part, the
Mm-hmm.
northern and southern part is barely covered. It's not at all like that. Okay, a smaller portion of African continent. So that would be another point here. Like that, right? So you can make notes using your erasable notepad in 25 seconds. Just make one or two phrases about the main points, and most importantly, make it in the sequence. That's really important. Like, what is your first point that you really want to say? That is always introduction. And what is my second point that I want to say? Okay, and what is my third point? Like the order of sequence that has to be decided here. And what is my fourth point? Fourth point mostly is a conclusion, like that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
as we discussed earlier, we have to use these compound and complex sentences in order to avoid pausing many a times, so that our fluency is in place, and we can save some seconds of time there as well. Any idea about compound and complex sentences, Amrita?
Yes. Actually, compound sentences we use like and, because, and all this. And compound complex sentences like inside a sentence there could be multiple comma. Then we can use which, therefore.
All right, okay, yeah, you're
Two,
partially right. Mhm.
yeah, two sentences when you are joining, so that is
Mhm.
compound, that becomes compound sentence. And inside a big sentence there will be could be multiple information, um, and each of the part of the sentence will have like, I'm not able to explain, but I actually understand that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, no problem, no problem. All right, Swati, any idea?
Yeah, a compound sentence is a mix of two sentences which is connected by a connector like and,
Mm-hmm.
because,
Okay.
and other words.
All right, fine. I'll just simplify it. Okay. See, like for compound sentences, we have these adjectives that we use, and In a simple way, we call them as fanboys.
Okay.
Have you heard of it before?
No.
Okay. See here, F stands for.
Okay.
Okay. A
Mm-hmm.
stands for and.
Okay.
Okay, I'm writing on the screen. Hope both of you are able to see it.
Yes.
Okay, N stands for nor, and B stands for but.
But
Okay,
okay.
yeah. O stands for or,
Mm-hmm.
and Y stands for yet,
Yet, okay.
and S stands for. Any guesses?
Such as no.
So,
Okay.
all right, and just to remember all these conjunctions, a simple way is to remember fanboys.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like that. Okay, any sentences that you create or add or mix the two or multiple sentences, they are by default called as compound sentences.
Mm-hmm.
Clear?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
Yeah.
here in this particular task, the use of compound complex sentences would really help you to not to use the full stop again and again where you have to pause multiple times. And every
Okay.
time, if you have to pause with smaller sentences, you may have to pause and wait for 1 or 2 seconds and then continue with the next sentence like that. And there,
Okay.
every time we stop, we will lose 1 or 2 sentences, and that's really costly here
Mm-hmm.
like that, right? Okay, so apart from fanboys, we have other connectors like although, even though, until, unless, if, because, as, while, all these words. When we
Mm-hmm.
use those connectors, so then that is called complex sentences. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, it's like that. And not only that, the compound sentence is the combination of two independent clauses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, minimum two independent clauses. What's the meaning of independent? Independent is the one which can stand on its own without the help of the other part of the clause.
Mm-hmm.
Got it? So that is called compound sentence.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And what is complex sentence is if two clauses, one is dependent and the other one is independent. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this dependent clause is completely dependent on, as the name suggests, on the dependent clause to have a complete meaning. If uh, if we write only dependent clause, for example, if I say if it rains and if I pause, so that doesn't give a complete meaning to you, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I have to add another clause to it in order to make it complete. If it rains, I take out umbrella. So then the sentence is complete.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's incomplete. So
Mm-hmm.
the first phrase, if it rains, is called dependent sentence. Clara. Okay. Dependent
Mm-hmm.
clause sentence. And the second one, I take out umbrella, is the
Independent.
independent clause. Yes. Like that. So using these sentences also shows like how good control you have on your language, and it also helps in your fluency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So however, here they are not testing the control of language here in terms of grammar and sentence structures, but this will surely help you with the pronunciation and fluency part. Got it? Okay,
Okay.
fine. So this is one thing here. So take up the extreme values and talk about how smaller part is covered and represent all the three segments that are given here. And possibly 3 to 4 sentences you are going to use in your presentation. Okay, fine. Let's try this one now. I have just shown you a small piece of answer here. So now your version would be tried. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so who would like to try first? Swati or Amrita?
Yes.
Hello, Amrita, can
Y-
you try?
Yeah.
Swati?
Yeah. S- Shall I try? Or
Yes, yes,
Swati
Amrita,
is trying?
you can try.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Uh,
All right, your 25 seconds preparation time will start now. After 25 seconds, you can start. Okay,
okay.
great. All right, you can start.
The map on the screen represents the gorilla distribution across African continent. Uh, the western lowland gorilla. Sorry. Can I start again, please?
Okay, no problem. No
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Okay, start.
Okay. The map represents gorilla distribution across African continent. If I say the western lowland, majority of the gorillas are available in western lowland. Then count of gorilla stands second in mountain area, and eastern lowland is having very less number of gorilla. In summary, in Africa there
Stop, stop,
is
stop, stop.
okay. Okay.
40 seconds over.
Over. Okay.
Yeah, because even after this, even if you say something, it's not recorded anyway in the
Mm-hmm.
exam. So
Mm-hmm.
no point. Okay. All
Okay.
right. So, okay, when you said the first sentence,
Mm-hmm.
okay, after that sentence, to pick up the second one, like there was a conscious effort was made. There was a gap of about two, three
2 3 seconds.
seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you picked up immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that affects the
Time.
sorry fluency part. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe due to that, it further stretched up to 40 seconds here, like that, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you prepared in those 25 seconds, did you actually try to make note or write keywords or something? Did you try doing that?
No. No.
No? Okay. All right. In fact, you can try doing that. It's pretty much important because in case if you feel like you're lost or you have lost the momentum, you can at least look at the list and you may get some hint and you can pick it up from there.
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise, just thinking and then immediately picking up would be a little challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Got it? Like
Yeah.
that. Okay. So the after first sentence, you don't have to stress out. It's simple. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about African map. So this African map shows the gorilla distribution across the continent. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And as it is evident, only the smaller part of Africa contains or holds the distribution of gorilla. That's mostly in the central part of Africa. So you can mention that. Where it is, how it is, what it is, when it is, and
Mhm.
who it is.
Mhm.
Like what, where, when, why, how. You have to answer all these questions to yourself. You'll get the answer.
Mhm.
Got it? And
Mhm.
then, as I said, first mention the extremities, the highest and the lowest,
Mhm.
right? Then talk about the middle one, like that. Okay. Would you want to try it again, or would you want to go to a different map?
Different would be fine, I guess.
Okay, fine. Hello, Swati. Would you want to try this
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, I wanna try this.
Yes, okay. So then, okay. So your preparation time, you have preparation time of 25 seconds. And after 25
Okay.
seconds, like you will say about this in 40 seconds, like that, right?
Oh, oh,
Okay.
okay.
All right. Your preparation time starts now. Okay. You can start.
The below map depicts gorilla distribution across the African continent. Gorilla distribution is majorly in parts of western lowland, whereas eastern lowland has the least, and mountain gorillas cover a small portion in Central Africa. This concludes that gorilla is unevenly distributed across African continent.
Right. Okay. This was pretty good. Unevenly was a good word there. But when you talked about mountain gorilla, you said
Mhm.
that is distributed in the central part of Africa, right?
It- Mountain gorillas cover a small portion in Central Africa.
A small port in the central Africa, okay. But as you say, like the whole thing is in Central Africa itself. The whole western, eastern, mountain, everything is in mostly central part of Africa. Okay,
Okay, okay.
so
Yeah.
if you mention that the whole distribution is concentrated in the central part of the Africa, if you can mention that, that would be a proper coverage of this particular map. Okay, except that
Okay.
point, this is pretty acceptable.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. Okay. Now let's look at a different kind of map here where you may find this also. You mean this is a line graph, okay? And these line graphs also are given in the exam like that, okay? So here, as we see, it is about iTunes purchased songs. iTunes purchased songs. And the x-axis is talking about the songs purchased in millions. Okay, songs purchased in millions. And then the bottom line is talking about the week number. So 0 to 15, 30, 45, 60. So till 150 weeks like that. Okay. And song purchase, like you will have to talk about the unit of measurement in millions. Like that, right? Okay. And when you see this particular line here, uh, you see that after this 45th week, the growth is almost like a very sharp growth, we can say here, from 200 to 500. It's a really sharp growth, like that. And it further continued till 850 and reached 1000 by almost 145th week, we can say, right? So you have to really take care of the digits that are given here. One is when you represent the weeks, you have to be careful about which week is that, okay? And what is the digit that it is reaching out to, like that, okay? So those things are really important here. And you don't have to cover all the each and every component which is given here. In fact, you can talk about all the major trends that the map has witnessed. Got it? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, okay. Fine. So before we actually try this one, I would want you to look at the vocabulary that we have to use here, because when we talk about the increase, like we also have to talk about like what kind of increase it is. That's really important.
Exponential.
Aha. Okay, exponential, and apart from exponential, like you also have the words like it plunged, plummeted, surged,
Okay.
soared, okay,
Hmm. Okay.
like that. And if it is increased, like marginal increase,
Hmm.
okay, considerable increase, drastic increase, dramatic increase, got it? Like that.
Hmm.
So this is really important for you to kind of adopt these words in your presentations. Very, very important. Okay, first we will look at those words and then we will try that particular sample. Okay,
Hmm.
great. So
Sorry,
if you,
sorry to interrupt.
yes, Swati,
Yeah. May I know where do we have all these documents? Uh,
this one, the one which I have
yeah,
shared on the screen now.
yeah, the additional documents.
Okay, okay. The vocabulary thing, I'll share it with you.
Okay, okay, fine.
Okay, I'll share it
Yeah,
with you so that whenever you're practicing, like you can use
okay,
these words. Got it?
okay. Yeah,
Okay, great. Yeah. So when we talk about the increase here, you see that we talk about rise, go up, uplift, rocketed, climb, upsurge, soar. Okay, plunged, plummeted. Those words have to be used. And if you're talking about growth, as Nata said, exponential growth, okay, like that. So those words would really add up to what you really want to say, and it represents the figures in an appropriate way. That's important. Okay, if you see here, we talk about this kind of growth. It's a gradual growth. It climbed up, or gradual growth, or slow pace. We can say that. Or if we see these words like increased, see, look at this increase here. It is a very sharp or dramatic increase, like that. Okay. So the each kind of increase would have a different word, like this. If it is only this much, and if it is almost like this much, like for each of these we have different words. So this is the first one. We can say it is a considerable increase, okay, or a marginal increase, or this we can say a gradual increase, or a slow pace increase, this a dramatic increase,
Hmm.
okay, like that, and a sharp increase, or the opposite way, decrease also. It could be either ways, like that, okay. And the words like slumped, if it reaches like really a sharp way, so then we can say slumped, plummeted. Or if it is not changing, or the change is not noticeable, then we can say stabilized, leveled off, okay, or consistent, okay, or insignificant growth. All right, so these
Mhm.
words should actually be used when we represent describe image like that. Okay, and dropped also a slight drop, consistent drop or decline or decrease. All right, or you can use the words like ascending or descending, right? So all those words make up to what you actually try to say. Like that. Okay. Not only these words, even let's go down here. All right. And when you start the presentation, you can use these words here, like this diagram or a table or figure, whatever it is. So you can use the verbs like any one of these: shows, represents, depicts, enumerates, illustrates, provides, describes, denotes, expresses, any one of these, like that. Okay. So when you practice from now with these words, like try practicing each one with different types. Because on the day of exam, if you have a very limited vocabulary, probably the words may not come up like that. So if you have synonyms, so you can at least recollect and use any one of these like that. Okay, and whatever it is, if it is a comparison or if it's a difference, change or information, data, proportion, amount, information, okay, trend, percentage. So depending on what element it is, like you will have to use this word. Got it? Okay, so
Yes.
that's really important. And if it is a pie chart, then you should use the name as like pie chart. It is a pie chart, and it is a bar chart, or it is a line chart. Okay, so whatever table or graph or map is given, so you should identify that. Okay, that's really important. Okay, so apart from these words, now if sometimes like you may come across percentages also.
Mhm.
Okay, so how do we represent the percentages there? So let's look at that part also. And then sentence by sentence, we will try to uh, use those words here like that. Okay, let me go down. Okay, yeah, yeah, I hope you can see that. When we talk about fractions, if everything is in percentage, let's say if it's only a 4%, so a tiny fraction, a tiny fraction, a very small portion, or almost a quarter. If it is 24%, if it is 25%, so then you can say it as like quarter. But it is not exactly 25%, it is 24%. That's why you have to use the word almost here, like that. Okay. If it is about 27%, let's say a little over a quarter, a little over a quarter. So you will have to use those words a little over. So over represents that 2% extra that we have here. Understood? Okay. And
Mhm.
exactly a quarter. So as I said, when we have 25%, you can say exactly a quarter, like that. And if it is 26%, roughly one quarter, like nearly one third, around a half, exactly half, 50%. For 49%, you will have to say around the half,
Mhm.
like that. Okay. And 51%, just over a half. Like that. So using these words would exactly give the appropriate meaning to what you are trying to say. Okay, if it is a 79%, so we say well over three quarter, well over three quarter, like that. Okay, so I mean, digesting all these words in a go would be difficult. So when I share it with you, so just practice these words in your talking, like that, and those words would give you a better version of presentations. Okay, like that, right? For now, you can like whatever words you have seen, so you should be able to use them to talk about this map or chart here. Okay, great. Okay, and when we use these words like adjectives and adverbs, so use these things effectively. Significant and significantly, considerable, considerably,
Mhm.
okay? Moderate, moderately, like that. So instead of using only one type of language, linguistic features, try to use a variety here, like that. Okay, and the words like overwhelmingly, substantially, enormously. If there is a huge change, then you can use these words: overwhelmingly higher, substantially higher, enormously higher, like that. Clear? Like that. Okay, fine. And otherwise, so these ones we have already discussed. Dramatically, rapidly, sharply, quickly, hurriedly, speedily, swiftly, significantly, considerably, substantially, noticeably. Okay, moderately, gradually, progressively, sequentially, steadily, ceaselessly, like these words. Okay, for a moderate change as well as a steady change. For slight change, slightly, slowly, mildly, tediously, these words. Okay, like that. So
Mhm.
let me just show you a couple of examples here so you would get an idea. Okay, the economic inflation of the country increased sharply by 20% in 2008, like that. So increased. If I only use the word increased, that would not be sufficient. Rather, I have to use an adverb here that is sharply, like that. Okay. And when I'm talking about the drop here, there was a sharp drop. So for drop, we have to use the adjective like what kind of drop it is. It is a sharp drop. Got it?
Mhm.
All right. And uh, demand for new houses dramatically increased, like that. So, and moderately increased. Like focus on these words when you represent the maps or the figures there. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Any doubts before we go to the map?
No, that's fine, I guess.
Fine, right? Okay, great. And here also, as you see, the lines that are represented, a rapid increase would be this length. A gradual increase would be this length. You see the line graph, that we are discussing now is
Mhm.
almost similar to this. Okay, stability or steadiness. Okay, a rapid decrease in a similar way, it has to decrease, and rapid changes. So very quick and fast changes can be used as rapid changes, like that. Okay, similarly, the decrease also. Fine. Okay, so with these words that we just saw, then let's try answering this particular map. Okay, fine. So what would be our first sentence here? So let's go sentence by sentence rather than the whole answer. Okay, so let's not worry about the time here at this stage. Once we get the flow or the rhythm of the representation, then we will do it according to the time. Clear?
Yeah, okay.
All right, fine. So just try the first sentence for this map here. Amrita, can you try?
Yes. This line chart shows the statistics of iTunes purchased song for a period of time.
For a period of time, but that would be a little vague when you say a period of time. You have to mention the period.
Okay.
Okay, like
Okay.
over 150 weeks.
Over 150 weeks. Okay.
Okay, and that
Mhm.
too, the songs purchased in millions.
Okay. Songs purchased in millions. Mhm.
In millions, yeah. So the chart represents the iTunes purchased songs in millions over 150 weeks.
Okay.
Got it? Like that.
Okay.
Okay. Now, before we actually move on further, what I want you to do is the folder which I had sent you, from that
Mhm.
folder, I would want you to open the offline practice test.
Okay.
Okay, both of you.
Mhm. Okay.
In that, open the speaking folder. Opened?
Yes, I'm just opening.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Swati, are you with us?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Have you opened the folder?
Sample responses. Yes.
Okay. In sample responses, you have third one, describe image. Click on that.
Mhm.
Okay. In that,
Yeah.
go to the second one, describe image item 2.
Sample response you want us to open?
Yes.
Okay. Mhm. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
In
Item two.
describe image, you have three samples, correct?
Yeah.
In describe image, sample 2. When you click, you have three options.
Three
Okay,
options.
fine.
Yes.
Yes. So those three options, those three tapes are actually the responses of actual students on this particular line graph.
Mhm.
All right. Now, these are of three different tapes. Okay, three different tapes of three different students. Listen to
Mhm.
all the three of them, okay, and just observe how they are representing the map here, okay, the chart, basically. All right, and you will have to tell, like, which tape successfully represents or effectively represents this chart out of those three. Okay. Okay, both of you can play from your end and listen and tell me which tape actually represents it. Okay, you can go ahead and do it now. Start.
The graph shows iTunes purchase song statistic in rate number. In the first week, the song purchase was 1 million, and it grew rapidly to 1,000 million songs.
Can you please go on mute because I'm getting yeah
Okay.
from the other.
150.
Sure.
Can you? Because I'm able to hear the voice from the other end. Or can you please go on mute?
Yes, Swati, can you go? All of us can go on mute
Yeah,
and
yeah,
do
yeah,
it.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure, yeah,
thanks.
sorry.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Hello.
Both of you are done with it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, which one actually sounded much better?
The second one, B2. I mean, the file name ends with B2. Second one,
The one which ends with this one. Okay, fine. The third one, you mean, or the second one?
second one, B2, ends with B2. File name ends
Okay.
with B2. Sample response describe image item to B2.
Okay, okay, fine. All right. Swati, what do you think?
I don't know. I didn't feel anything was complete or good as per me.
Okay. Okay. In all the three, right?
Yeah, the third one was little okay, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay, okay. Now, before you actually try this one, for the tapes that you have listened to, so I would want you to see the examiner's comment for that.
Okay.
Got it? Let's see that, and you will get an idea about what are the main things here and how do we actually cover that. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is sample one, B1, B1,
Mm-hmm.
B2. Okay, this is the second tape, and third one is here, C1. These are the three things that you had listened to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
now go through the first tapes. comment here. So the score here is B1 for that particular tape. Okay, so B1 is somewhere about 65 plus. Okay, the
Mhm.
score I am talking about for that particular thing. If that has to be converted into 90, that one task, that one response, then that would be about 65, like that, right? B1 stands for that. So the examiner says there is no discussion of the relationships between elements of the graph. This is pretty much clear, okay, in that map. And only the content of the graph is described and the description is disorganized. It's not an organized, proper organization. And the rate of the response is uneven. Fluency is negatively affected by several hesitations and at least two repetitions. So several words are unclear because of incorrect pronunciation of some vowels and consonants. This response demonstrates limited control over simple grammatical structures. There is frequent pausing of lexical planning, and the overall response is labored. This response lasts for 39 seconds, like that. Okay. So here, when they say labored, it means that the person has actually made some conscious effort. I mean, it was not natural. It was conscious effort that was made to give an answer. I mean, with a little struggles at a couple of places. That's when they call it as labored. Clear?
Okay.
Right? And there
Mhm.
were many incorrect pronunciation also of some vowels and consonants. So these things they will look at. Look at the B2 here. The score for that, the second one is B2. Means it is the second one is slightly better than the first one.
Mhm.
Okay, and here it says while the response describes basic elements of the graph, it's disorganized and there is little discussion of the relations between elements. There is there is a discussion, but it's very little. That's what they mean.
Mhm.
Okay, and the speech is somewhat uneven, not in a very organized way. But the rate is acceptable and there are several long utterances. So several words are unclear because of the incorrect pronunciation of some vowels and consonants. So ideas are expressed through linked discourse and language use is acceptable, although several grammar and vocabulary errors are present. Like that. So this is the second comment that they have. Okay, any questions here about the first or second one?
Is how much they will score? I mean, they have scored. Uh, can you please give some idea, like for B1 and B2?
Yes, yes, yeah. For B1, as I said, it is somewhere about 65.
Okay, score. No, not the total one. For this one, I'm saying for
Yeah,
this
if
particular uh,
okay. If, for
0 to 5.
example,
Yeah.
okay. If this score has to be compared, so then it has scored uh, 3 out of 5. If
Okay,
I have to say
B1.
B1, yes, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So
Mhm.
B2 here is like almost 3.5 to 4, I can say.
Oh, okay,
B2.
okay.
Okay. And C1 means that it is higher than B2.
Mhm.
The score is higher than B2. So B1 is the least, B2 is
Mhm.
middle, and C1 is the best.
Mhm.
Like that. The third tape that you heard It says the major aspects of the graph are accurately described. Like that. So the accurate description is important here. All the major aspects of the graph. So this is what I was telling, where you don't have to cover all the points or all the weeks or all the percentages that they have given there. Major ones you will have to describe. Okay. And the discussion of the relationships between elements contain one misinterpretation, sorry. And this response contained several long runs of language with an even tempo. Sorry. Word or phrase stress is appropriate. So this counts in the pronunciation part. So when word and phrase stress is appropriate. Incorrect pronunciation of some consonant clusters does not affect understanding. And the test taker demonstrates good control of standard English grammar with very few errors. So they are okay with minor errors if it is not affecting the meaning of the sentence. Okay, so that's completely fine there. And the vocabulary used is precise and appropriate for the context. This was for 35 seconds. Got it? So this is exactly what they expect from you in the tapes, where major points have to be covered and the relationship has to be established. And while you do so, the stress and intonation to be in place. And not only that, even the grammar and the language that you use should be appropriate with minimum errors, which do not affect the meaning of the whole sentence or the paragraph. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the 25 seconds that you actually have, you have to make these notes here. See, if you look at the main points to be included in the description, it says that the graph shows iTunes purchase songs from week 0 to 150. So, as I said, you have to mention the week, the period. That's very, very important here. All the elements of introduction should be covered, so we can't, rule that out. That's the first thing. Okay. And second one is the number of songs purchased has risen sharply since week 90. Like from first week to almost 70 to 80 weeks, you see that the rise is not that sharp. It's hardly increasing. But from the week of 90, it almost like surged or jumps or plummets like that. Okay, a dramatic increase, as we say, like that. And then there were 1,000 times more songs sold in week 148 than week 0. So the last one, as you see, it reaches to 1,000 weeks. So that is in week 148. And if you are not sure about whether it is 148 or 147 or 149, if you are not sure about it, then you can vaguely represent that the iTunes songs purchased reached about 1,000 times more when it approached towards almost 150th week. Almost 150th week. So the word almost will take care of the vagueness there, whether it is 147, 148. So everything is covered when you say almost. Like that. Okay. So because when you misrepresent any particular point, so then that would affect our marks for content. So we may not get a 5 out of 5 there. We may our marks will be reduced. Got it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what important here. Okay, for this particular graph, let's do this now, where you know what to cover also. Okay, one item song purchased and 150th week. This you will have to say, and then there's a sharp increase by 90th week, and by 1,000 times increase by 148th week, and it exploded in the past 150 weeks. So you can overall say you have to summarize the whole thing. So the number of songs sold by iTunes has exploded in the past one because from zero it has reached 1,000. So that's a huge number. So
Yeah.
you can use the word exploded here.
Mm-hmm.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Great. Okay, 1 million. Okay, let's go to the prompt now and you should try your version of the answer. Okay. All right. Let me share the screen here. Okay, can you see the image now? Both of you?
Yes.
Okay, great. So now you can try your version. So again, I will give you 25 seconds time to prepare. Okay. All right. So who would like to start? Swati or
Yeah, I will start.
Swati would like to try? Okay. Great. So your timing, your preparation timing starts now. All right. You can start.
The below bar graph shows songs purchased in millions through iTunes in a period of 150 weeks. The number of songs purchased in first week is only 1 million, with a marginal increase to 90 millions at 60th week, whereas there has been an enormous increase, roughly 1,000 millions in the 150th week. This concludes that the iTunes purchase song is has a gradual
Stop,
increase
stop, stop, stop.
throughout.
So while you were concluding, the time was up.
Yeah,
Okay, so and if you, whatever you say after the tape stopped
yeah.
has no meaning because anyway it's not recorded in the exam
Okay, okay,
like that. So you should make sure that you would finish by about 35 seconds
okay, okay.
like that because after 35 seconds it's like 5 seconds is hardly any time. It runs really fast. Okay.
Sure.
Maximum, you should try to finish it by 35 seconds. Okay. All right. Amrita, can you give it a try?
Yes.
Okay. So your preparation time starts now. All right. Start.
Uh, This line chart shows the statistics of iTunes purchased songs in millions from week 0 to week 150. The number of songs purchased in week 0 is only 1 million. If we see, there is a sharp increase in purchase since week 90, and it has increased 1,000 times more when it reached almost week 150. So it concludes that people are adopting or listening to the more iTunes songs.
Stop.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Conclusion is not good, I know, and many things I remember from the discussion.
I know. But all right, in the exam, you will not have that privilege.
Exactly.
Okay, fine. Okay, so finishing on the verge of 40 seconds would be a little risky. Okay,
Okay.
because if the last part is not recorded, then it would consider it as an incomplete sentence.
Yes.
Okay, so make sure that you finish by 35 seconds. Okay, now Swati, about your response, uh, if you had not covered this 50th week, something, okay, this
Yes.
particular part, you covered zero. I mean, you started with zero, and then you
Mm-hmm.
covered 50th here, and then you went on to 1000. So covering 50th is actually not required
No, the
because
60th one. I mean, 90 millions the 60th week.
90 million. Okay, yeah. I mean, from here to here, there is hardly any, I mean, not much of a change here. It's just a
Okay.
gradual growth, if you see, like that,
Okay.
okay? But if at all you have to cover, so then you really have to see the big changes here. If you see from this almost 200,
Oh,
when
okay.
it reaches
Okay.
about 200 million, you see this, there is a sudden rise. This
Yes.
rises like this, and this is like this, okay?
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
continued further in the same way till almost 1000. So if at all you
Okay.
have to mention about a 200 thing, like that, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
while you say this, here, this is a place where I was talking about using a complex and compound sentences.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where you mostly tried simple sentences where both of you, like you talked about the first week, and where it started only 1 million, a 0 week, and it started with 1 million, and after that you made a
Mm-hmm.
new sentence when you talked about 1000 thing, like that, okay. Whereas you
Okay.
can say the iTunes songs purchased started with 1 million purchases in the first week, whereas it reached up to 200 millions by almost 80th week. You see here, this is 75th week, and this is 80 here. Can you see? This is 80, and this line here exactly comes up. This, okay. So by 80th week, like that. So you have to use a connector, whereas, or in contrast, or in opposite, okay, or meanwhile. Use these connectors to join these two sentences which you are actually comparing and contrasting.
One second, Harish. How about this? If I say number of songs purchased in first week is only 1 million, with a
Hmm.
marginal increase to 200 millions at the 90th week.
By No, it's not 90th week. It is the change is here. It is at the 80th week, almost 80
Okay.
to 80, between 80 to 85.
No, I was just giving you an example. If we use
Oh, okay, okay.
uh, a phrase like this, like after the first statement, the next one would be followed by with a marginal increase to 90 millions or 80
With a
million.
marginal increase. Yeah, yeah, it is a marginal increase. Definitely, you can say that.
Okay,
Okay,
okay, done.
marginal increase, and from there you will have to say that however, it
Mm-hmm.
plunged it plunged to almost 500 millions by 120th week, which continued to reach about 1,000 million purchases by 148 week,
Okay,
like that. Okay, so just in a sentence, in one sentence or two sentences, you should cover the whole thing because we don't have much time here. Like that. And finally, we'll have to say overall, if we see in between these 150 weeks, the songs purchased had really exploded to
Mhm.
1,000 times. Like that. Okay. So the conclusion is the last sentence. In between, the representation is in two sentences, and the first sentence is introduction. Pretty simple. Four sentences ideally are enough.
okay.
Understood?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how the whole point is. Like you
Mhm.
will have to segregate these things. Just make up your mind to use about four sentences, and within these four sentences, you should actually try to represent most of it.
Mhm.
Okay, great. So let's look at this bar chart now. I hope you both can see that.
Yes.
Okay, this is about motor vehicle theft. Okay, now before we actually start our answers here, so what's the name of the topic here? What would be our first sentence?
Motor vehicle theft.
Uh-huh. So how do you frame the sentence, first sentence here?
Mm,
This bar graph represents the statistics of stolen motor vehicles since 1990 to 2002.
It's 1990.
1998 to 2002.
Ah, okay. Yes. Yeah. So from 1998 to 2002. Yeah. Okay. And what about this people? This is about people here. So 46 and 48, 50, what you're seeing here, these digits are actually one
Mm.
per lakh people.
Yeah. So,
Like,
okay. So
it
this
is in lakhs.
40,000. No, no. What I'm saying is this 58,000, 56,000. Is it like that? Because
Yes.
it's people in thousand. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
100,000.
It is
Okay.
46, 48, 50, 52, 54, like that. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
2000. And as you see here, like it is not exact, like it is not touching the margin anywhere
Hmm.
here. You see this,
So almost we have to use.
aha,
Okay.
almost,
Mm-hmm.
nearly, approximately,
Mm-hmm.
closely.
Mm-hmm.
Got it? So those words have to be used in order
Mm-hmm.
to represent that particular digit. I mean, don't try to figure out whether it is 53, 52, 51. Don't try to figure out the exact one because that is not the point here. like that. Okay, they want you to use the words like almost, nearly, and all that. So that's why these figures are given. Okay, almost, if you see here, this one, it is not touching 56, but it is right below 56 line.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on the margin, so you can say on the verge of, like that. Okay, on the verge of. So that is on the verge of touching the 56, but it has not touched completely. Okay, all right. So here also, if you see, 1998 is highest, and in 2002 it was the lowest. First, cover up the highest and lowest part, and then you talk about 1999 and 2000, and you see here both these values are same,
Yeah.
like that, right? Okay, fine. So this is how it is. Okay, or if you want to go year by year, that is also fine. And you can always mix these two because these two are anyway same. The 1999 and 2000, which are both are actually same here. And if you see this increase, is this a drastic increase or a marginal increase or a sharp or a steep increase? So what kind of increase is it?
Marginal.
Because it has reached from about 53 to 55, almost 56.
Marginal only.
So about 53 to 56, about 30,000 people.
3,000.
Yeah, 30,000 people. Hmm.
30,000, 50, you said 53 to 56. 52,000, right? To 56,000.
Correct.
2-3,000 only. So,
That is in 10,000. Okay, 10,000. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So what kind of growth is it? I mean, what kind of increase is it? Exponential
Uh,
growth, or sharp increase, or marginal increase, dramatic increase,
this
drastic
is a
increase?
this is a marginal
Marginal.
increase.
Uh-huh.
Uh, yeah, this is a marginal increase.
And what about this fall here?
This is a drastic fall.
Ha, dramatic or drastic fall that you can say. Okay. And what about this fall after 1998? The next year, it fell
Mm-hmm.
down about from 57. It fell down to 53.
Still, it fell down steadily. No.
No, no, it can't uh,
Yeah, it cannot fall down. Cannot be steadily. Yeah, up can
steady.
be
Yeah.
steadily. Yeah.
Mhm. You can say proportionally.
Proportionally. Okay.
Okay. Proportionally decreased value. Okay, fine. So, and we have 5 years here, and that is given. So, don't bother to represent color. Okay, the green color and a green, or the yellow, whatever color it is. So don't bother to represent that.
Mm-hmm.
That way we are not conveying anything very crucial there. Okay, focus on the digits. All right, just give it a try. Let's see how it comes out. Okay, who would like to try?
Yeah, I can. I can try.
Okay, okay. All right. Okay. Oh, it's 10 o'clock. Okay, fine. Yeah, you can give it a try.
Mhm.
Your preparation time starts now. Okay, start.
This bar chart shows the statistics of stolen motor vehicle from 98 to 2002. If we see, in year 1998, almost 58,000 people lost their vehicle, and in year 2002 there is a sharp decrease in terms of the number of people lost their vehicle. In year 1999 and 2000, almost same number of people who lost their vehicle, but in 2001 there is a marginal increase in terms of uh, number of people, in terms of number of people who lost their vehicle. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So representation is fine, but it should be a little fluent.
Okay.
Okay. So for that, we will have to really work on these compound and complex sentence structures. Okay,
Mhm.
in order to like use it effectively in the answers. Okay. Anyway, like we will discuss this tomorrow. I think today we stretched half an hour more. Okay. Anyway, like we will see some more samples tomorrow, and we shall continue to discuss. Okay.
Okay, okay, sure.
Sure.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay. So see you both tomorrow at the same
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.